Indian Army orders all personnel to delete their Facebook accounts. Boeing completes delivery of the last 5 of 22 Apache attack helicopters to the Indian Air Force. Saab begins production of the Gripen in Brazil. And the Indian Navy completes Operation Samudra Setu. It's Wednesday, the 8th of July. I'm Saurabh Joshi and you're listening to StratPost Daily. The Indian Army's 1.3 million personnel will have to delete their Facebook and Instagram accounts. First reported by the Navbharat Times, the new order says that personnel will not be allowed to merely deactivate their accounts. The new order requires deletion of accounts. Interestingly, the order does not appear to apply to Twitter accounts. The reason for this move is the apparent risk of espionage on Facebook and Instagram, where users typically post information that is of a more personal nature and make it easier to access photos and map relationships. Over 80 websites and apps have been banned for use by Army personnel, including Tinder, Zoom, and Truecaller. The Army has allowed restricted use of some apps like the Facebook-owned messaging app WhatsApp, Signal, Telegram, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Quora, with the order allowing personnel to have a passive presence on YouTube, Twitter, and Quora. As first reported by StratPost, the Indian Navy had banned many of these social media and messaging websites and applications for its personnel earlier this year. The last 5 AH-64E Apache Guardian helicopters of the Indian Air Force have been delivered to Hindon Air Force Station close to Delhi on Sunday. According to a Jane's report, the Boeing technicians accompanying the dismantled aircraft on board an Antonov AN-124 were exempted from the COVID-19 quarantine restrictions to allow them to complete assembly quickly. 17 aircraft had been delivered in 2019. This completes the $2.1 billion order for 22 helicopters. India placed an order earlier this year for an additional 6 helicopters for the Army. Saab has begun producing the first Gripen fighter aircraft in Brazil. Sweden's Saab has begun manufacturing the Gripen E at its Saab Aeronautica Montagens factory at São Bernardo do Campo in Brazil as part of a $4.8 billion Brazilian order for 36 aircraft. The Brazilian factory is building parts like the tail cone and the front fuselage, which will be forwarded to an Embraer final assembly line at Sao Paulo in Brazil and Saab's final assembly line at Linköping in Sweden. Saab also plans to build the aerodynamic brakes, rear fuselage, wing box, and front fuselage for the two-seater version at the Brazilian factory, according to a statement. The first Brazilian Gripen E model was completed in Sweden in September 2019. Deliveries are expected to begin next year and will be completed by 2024. Saab is also pitching a Gripen assembly line to India as part of its bid in an upcoming Indian Air Force contest for 114 fighter aircraft. The Indian Navy has completed Operation Samudra Setu, its exercise to evacuate Indian nationals from littoral countries in the Arabian Sea who were unable to return to India because of travel restrictions. The Navy has repatriated 3,992 Indians from the Maldives, Sri Lanka, and Iran, with the INS Jalashwa, INS Magar, INS Shardul, and INS Airavat making a total of 8 separate trips to Malé, Colombo, and Bandar Abbas. The Navy said the greatest challenge was to avoid the outbreak of infection on board during these evacuation missions and that rigorous measures were taken to prevent such an eventuality. Operation Samudra Setu was launched on the 5th of May. A separate operation, Mission Sagar, was also conducted in which landing ship tank Kesari carried 580 tons of relief material, including food aid and medical stores, to the Maldives, Mauritius, Madagascar, the Comoros Islands, and Seychelles, covering 14,000 kilometers in 49 days. Mission Sagar also included the deployment of a medical team to Mauritius and the Comoros Islands. And that's the end of this edition. If you like this podcast, do subscribe to it on Apple or Google Podcasts. And don't forget to follow StratPost on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn, wherever you find convenient. I'll be back with StratPost Daily tomorrow.